Who will win? Gary Paffett, Paul di Resta,
René Rast.
Veer Wout.
Meister.
It's going to be a long weekend.
I think we've got similar levels of pressure.
We have nothing to lose.
Who will win?
But when you're in a championship position, it doesn't necessarily guarantee you're going to finish it off.
We have the least pressure.
I'm the fastest.
Who will win?
It is time for the grande finale here at the Hockenheim ring, and thus welcome to the DTM. It is going to be so exciting this weekend. Who is going to be champion? That's what we're going to find out maybe today, definitely tomorrow. But now, first of all, it's time for the qualifying.
Oh yes, the first step towards that championship is, of course, to give yourself the best possible grid position. And qualifying then about to get underway here at Hockenheim. What a season it has been, and the drama continues. What can this man do? René Rast then, he scored 131 points in the last 5 races, as you can see. And has a chance to unsettle the 2 Mercedes ahead of him with regards to the Drivers' Championship. Well, over this race and the next one, we will see what eventually will play out in, as I say, what has been a fantastic 2018 season of DTM. Now, Marco Wittmann had a big off in the FP session earlier today, and you can see the team working furiously on the BMW car of Marco Wittmann to try and get that car out on track for this qualifying session. Well, he's buying himself clear space at the head of the track because he's at the head of the queue when it comes to qualifying. Gary Paffett then will complete his 15th DTM season. And as you can see, his car is in pole position with regards to leaving the grid for this short, sharp qualifying session of just 20 minutes, which will give us the grid for the race to come this afternoon. So where are we? At a few seconds away from the lights going green for the qualifying session, and we're on board with Paul di Resta then. This championship fight at the top is very, very tight indeed. And as I say, René Rast, as you can see from that very, very healthy scoring over the last few races, finds himself in that potentially in that championship chase as well. Paul di Resta on 229 points, Gary Paffett on 225, René Rast on 199. In FP2 then, Joel Eriksson for BMW was the quickest, then it was Augusto Farfus, and then it was Gary Paffett who was the quickest of those that are chasing the championship. As you can see, Paul di Resta didn't have a good time of it, but it was only a free practice. Let's not read too much into that, because the critical times will come in this qualifying session. Big number of spectators in here to enjoy the qualifying. There's Edo Mortara then. Had good conversations with Edo last night.
3 Audis and 3 BMWs. Some tech cars in the pit lane.
When he was taking part in a e-racing competition.
Then we'll make sure we get a gap.
And Edo Mortara then in car number 48. Edo finds himself P5 in the Drivers' Championship behind Marco Wittmann. And the Marco Wittmann car, as we've seen, is in the pit lane and in the garage still, as the team really work hard on that. So Edo Mortara inside the car. Well, all the Mercedes-Benz carrying the same hashtag Get Well weekends, of course. And there is the Paul di Resta car parked up in the pit lane, ready for this qualifying session. And the pit view, which is afforded to the fans in the paddock then, looking at the Lucas Auer car. Lucas Auer, who's not had a season to remember, it has to be said, and had high hopes going into this season.
Can the camera guys go away just for driving up? It would be nice.
So Gary Paffett then, as I said, at the head of the queue for this qualifying session. And he knows just how critical it is to put the car as far up the order as he possibly can. Pole position is not out of the question for Gary Paffett, that's for sure. Pascal Wehrlein is the car that's lined up right behind him, and then of course it is Paul di Resta, who is champing at the bit, ready to get going then as the light goes green then, and Gary Paffett, for whatever reason, is not going. I just wonder whether the sunlight on the lights means that he hasn't seen that it's green yet, because all the drivers are itching to get past Gary Paffett, as you can see. And sure enough, Gary does get going now, and Pascal Wehrlein as well, and Paul di Resta, who we are on board with as we get this qualifying session underway then. As you can see already, some 45 seconds of the qualifying session has gone already. Expect the drivers to come out and bank an early lap, then to go in, and then come back out for the final part of the qualifying session. So the cars all streaming out there. There is Nico Müller, there's Augusto Farfus, Timo Glock, Bruno Spengler in the BMW number 7, and there is Marco Wittmann, who of course is not in the car because the car is still very much in pieces, with the engineers working so very hard on the Marco Wittmann car. Are they going to be able to get that completed within the next 18.5 minutes? I think that is a huge, tall order. So we, whilst we were watching the free practice session, we could see the damage caused to the Marco Wittmann car when he connected with the wall, and the RMG team working absolutely flat out then on the Marco Wittmann car, who at the moment he is just waiting to see whether there's any likelihood, any opportunity of them having done all the work they've done. Now this is the accident that caused Marco Wittmann to be in the position that he's in now. As you can see, locks up, and once locked up, connects with the barriers. And actually, from being on board with Marco, you would have said that that wasn't too big a hit, and it didn't. It wouldn't have caused much damage. But well, as you can see, it caused an incredible amount of damage, and the team working very hard to get that car out on track for this qualifying session. Of which 3 minutes very nearly done and dusted already. So Gary Paffett screams across the timing line then. The cars that we have out there: Paffett, Wehrlein, di Resta, Danny Juncadella. Then it's Robin Freins, Mike Rockenfeller, Joel Eriksson, who of course was quickest in free practice. Nico Müller, Augusto Farfus, Timo Glock, Bruno Spengler, Edo Mortara, Lucas Sauer, Loic Duval, Jamie Green, and of course Rene Rast. So making his way around the Parabolica, continuing to weave from side to side, Gary Paffett. Announce what Gary's plans for racing from 2019 on are this week.
Go.
Mike Rockenfeller on his way out of the pit lane now, having come in for a new set of tyres. We have perfectly live team radio as well. Philip Eng in now, and Joel Eriksson on his way out. Timo Glock also comes in.
The lollipop was not down when I arrived.
So Philip Eng complaining that the lollipop was not
all
down.
Fine, Philip, all fine.
When he arrived, here comes Augusto Farfus then. The sun beating down the pit lane here at Hockenheim.
Okay, there was Bruno, yeah.
So Bruno and Timo Glock. We go on board with Timo Glock then. Had but one win this season, had a couple of P2 places. Of course, we won't forget the opening round here at this very track right at the start of the 2018 season. The battle between Timo Glock, Gary Paffett, and of course Mike Rockenfeller. And on board with Gary Paffett now. So 1:38.404 is the first meaningful time for us to show. Expect those times to come tumbling down. 1:38.404. And it's a 1:37.311 from Pascal Wehrlein immediately answering the Gary Paffett time. So Wehrlein quickest, then it's Paffett, then it's di Resta, then it's Juncadella. The only times that we have thus far, as you can see, from Mercedes-Benz cars, until we get the time of Robin Freins now. And here we can see Gary Paffett then running over the rumble strips. Sparks flying off the bottom of the Mercedes of Gary Paffett, very much in the championship chase. Nico Müller is quickest at the moment with a 1:36.795. 1:36.795 for Nico Müller. Then it is Pascal Wehrlein. So on board with Gary Paffett then. Great shot of him, hard at work inside the car. Taking that turn absolutely flat. So Paffett with quicker than anyone through Sector 1 and Sector 2. Very much means business in this qualifying session. So Lucas Howe provisionally goes P1 with a 1:36.041, but expect that to be vaulted now by Gary Paffett, who does with a 1:33.188, some very nearly 3 seconds quicker than the Lucas Howe time. Goes provisional P1, followed by Pascal Wehrlein 4/10 behind. And here comes Nico Müller then, quicker than anyone through Sector 1. Personal best through Sector 2. Paul de Resta has just done 3 PBs to give him P2. He is about a 10th and a half behind Gary Paffett in terms of cumulative time. And Nico Müller crosses the timing line now and goes from P8 to P3. So it's Paffett, de Resta, Müller. Rast at the moment is 11th fastest, but he's just done a personal best in Sector 1. Here comes Lucas Howe then, who momentarily was right at the top of the timing chart. He is now finding himself in P7, but of course it's also very, very close in DTM, not only in the race, but in qualifying as well. So Paffett, de Resta, Müller, Hour now is 4th fastest. Then it's Danny Juncker-Deyer, who is 5th fastest, and we're on board now with René Rast, who P11 it was. There's 2 PBs and 3 PBs make it P3 for René Rast then. All 3 championship contenders are P1, 2 and 3 in qualifying thus far. So Paffett then, a 1:33.188 is the fastest driver, 1:33.336 from Paul de Resta. This is Robin Freins, who's gone quicker than anyone in Sector 1. So too now has René Rast, but that has cost Robin Freins dearly as he slid the car through that turn. Here's Paul de Resta, he stays P2. So Robin Freins then may have lost a bit of momentum with that sideways moment. But Robin Freins goes from P7 and advances 2 places to P5. As I say, I think the sideways moment cost him some valuable time. And here we can see it again as he had to pile on the opposite lock to control this drift. It looked very spectacular and looked good, and it was very well controlled, but it's not the quickest way round that turn. So Robin Freins, that cost him time. On board with René Rast then, PB in Sector 1, better than anyone in Sector 2 as this fight in qualifying continues. So Paffett, de Resta, Rast, what can Rast do here? Timo Glock has just gone quicker than anyone through Sector 1, but we stay with René Rast to see him across the timing line now. PB in Sector 1, better than anyone in Sector 2. Well, it's a 1:33.189. And that is 1/1000th slower than Gary Paffett. That's all. So Paffett, Rast, and then it's Joel Eriksson, who is P3. Philip Eng is P4. On board with Timo Glock then. What have we got left? 11 and a quarter minutes of this qualifying session. So Glock goes from P17 to P1 with a 1:32.974. Didn't see that coming. Timo Glock then, P1, 1:32.794. The first sub-1:33 time comes from the BMW driver Timo Glock. What a lap that was. Made up of 2 PBs and a better than anyone sector. Edo Mortara is on 2 BBs as well, but bails the lap and is into the pit lane. So the order then is Glock, Paffett, Rast, Rockefeller. Where's Paul de Resta in all of this? P7. And the reason I say where is Paul de Resta in all of this is, of course, it's Paul de Resta, Gary Paffett, René Rast, the championship contenders. Championship coming down to the final races here at Hockenheim. There is the René Rast car, currently 4th fastest. Joel Eriksson now 2nd fastest. So it's now Glock, Ericsson, Paffett, Rast, Rockefeller, Philipp Eng, Paul de Resta. Then it's Bruno Spengler, Augusto Farfus, Nico Müller, and Lucas Auer. So the René Rast car into the garage then. Under 10 minutes of this qualifying session remaining. On board with Timo Glock.
2 cents. The tires didn't come in proper because of all the traffic ahead. This was really bad. We need to get me in free air on the outlap.
So there's Timo saying, you need to get me in free air on the outlap. 1:32.974 nonetheless he has delivered, and that is the fastest time so far in this qualifying session. So in replay then, that Timo Glock lap, which delivered a 1:32.974. So Jamie Green, the car we look at there. Here is Gary Paffett. So Paffett currently third fastest. This man is the quickest. So quickest time, a 1:32.974. Incidentally, the DTM lap record here, it's a 1:32.456.
Mid to exit. The entry is not pushing too much more on the entry, but just mid to exit speed.
Interesting listening to Gary on the team radio.
Yeah, it's just picking up the throttle as well a little bit. Mid to exit earlier.
Looking at the data, as you can see there on the screen.
1 minute, we're going to do the fire up. 1:15, we leave.
Great to have this team radio. As I was saying just before we were listening into the conversation between Gary Paffett and his engineer, is the DTM lap record is with Audi's Jamie Green, a 1:32.456, which was set last year. So final preparations before Gary Paffett goes out for the second part of qualifying. There's Paul de Resta also looking at the data. He knows he's got work to do because at the moment, Paul de Resta, the P7, scored points in 16 of 18 races in DTM this year. It's been a stellar season for Paul de Resta. Can he finish it off by taking the championship? So Glock 1:32.974. The only driver in the 32s. Here is Paul de Resta with the sparks flying off the Mercedes-Benz car. At this particular point, he was third fastest in replay as he bounced his way over the curbs. And there you can see that split screen shot and the focus. Gary Paffett to the left-hand side, Paul de Resta to the right-hand side of your screen. Gary Paffett on his way out of the garage now. Paul de Resta still biding his time and waiting. So we heard Gary going through the data and just looking where he could potentially improve. 1:33.188, the very best time that Gary has been able to deliver so far. So he's out early on in the second phase, if you like, of qualifying, got clear track ahead of him, and has bought himself that track space that we heard on team radio Timo Glock was so craving. And Glock himself is the quickest man in qualifying so far with that 1:32.974. Big crowd here to enjoy DTM qualifying in the DTM race, and we're expecting the place to be sold out for tomorrow. So Glock, Ericsson, Paffett, Rast, Rockefeller, Eng, de Resta, Spengler, Farfus, Nico Müller, the top 10 in qualifying so far, with 5 3/4 minutes left before the conclusion of this qualifying session for DTM, the final weekend of DTM here in 2018. Timo Glock then awaiting the wheels and tyres to go onto the car then before he goes out for the final part of qualifying, which now we have less than 5.5 minutes of. So everything is timed to absolute perfection by the teams and also by the drivers too. So the car that is cars that are out there at the moment: Paffett, Rast, also de Resta, Müller, this man Lucas Auer, also Robin Freins, Pascal Wehrlein, Danny Unkadea, Edo Mortara, Loic Duval and Jamie Green. The cars that are still in the pit lane are Timo Glock, Joel Eriksson, Mike Rockenfeller, Philipp Eng, Bruno Spengler, and Augusto Farfus. So Lucas Auer then weaving from side to side, generating temperature into the Hankook tyres. And Gary Paffett crosses the timing line, as we can see from our commentary position window. You didn't necessarily see that on the screen, and what you can see on the screen is the fact that Timo Glock is now making his way out of the pit lane. So Timo Glock, who at the moment is the fastest driver, with a 1:32.974, and indeed the only driver to have gone into the 32s. So some young spectators enjoying the qualifying session. Great to have you here. Welcome. Good to see you. Timo Glock, 1:32.974. Joel Eriksson, 1:33.042. Then it's Paffett, Rast, Rockefeller, Eng, De Resta, Spengler, Farfus, and Muller rounding out the top 10 in qualifying. As you can see, the left-hand side of your screen, as we keep that updated for you throughout the qualifying session. And we're watching Gary Paffett now, who knows he has work to do if he wants to put the car on the front row of the grid for the race this afternoon. In terms of local time, the race gets underway in about a couple of hours from now. Toto Wolff then on the pit wall.
Eriksson and Farfus are on outlaps.
The final year of Mercedes participation in DTM, want to go out on a high. Here are the stats for Paul de Resta then. 18 races, 5 victories, 6 podiums,
Is 5 seconds.
16 top 10s. So, under 3 minutes remain. It's now that all of a sudden the timing screen will begin to busy up. Well, they've been working so very hard on the Marco Wittmann car. But it's not going to be making this qualifying session. Didn't think it would, despite huge efforts from the team. So here's Gary Paffett then, into the hairpin. Personal best through Sector 1. So he accelerates his way out of turn number 6, the hairpin, and down towards turn number 7, which has taken absolutely flat before reaching the Mercedes Arena, which is turn number 8, the very hard right-hander, left-hander even. And then the slight right-hander that leads into this turn 10 for another stretch of straight before the mobile one turn, the right-hander, which Gary Paffett goes through now, having set a quicker than anyone time through Sector 2. This is looking on very much for a very quick time for Gary Paffett. He hugs the outside of the Sachs turn through turn number 13. And now through the final 2 turns, the last one of which is the Sudkurve, as Gary Paffett heads towards breaking the timing beam now. And he goes quickest with a 1:32.737, having taken just over 2 1/4 tenths out of Timo Glock's time. Here comes Nico Muller, personal best in Sector 1 and Sector 2. He goes from P11 to P2, pushing Timo Glock down to P3. There's 2 personal bests for René Rast as well. He has the final 3 turns to do. There's the first of them. Here comes the second. And then just the Sudkurve for René Rast. So Paffett quickest, 1:32.737. René Rast breaks the beam now, and he goes second fastest with a 1:32.847. So 1.1 tenths slower than Gary Paffett. Edo Mortara and Lucas Auer, respectively, both on quick laps. Edo Mortara pushes himself up to P4. What can Lucas Auer do? Well, Lucas Auer can go quickest with a 1:32.635. So the young Austrian then goes faster than anyone with a 1:32.635. Paul de Resta makes an adjustment to his brake bias. So Paul de Resta, who is currently down there P13, he's done a personal best through Sector 1 and is mid-Sector 2 right now for Paul de Resta. Crosses the sector line, is Done a personal best through Sector 2 as well. His cumulative time, though, is a couple of tenths down on the fastest time that we've seen so far. And that fastest time came from Lucas Harry. Just Paul di Resta getting the back end of the car out just a little bit there. That will have cost him valuable 100ths potentially. The clock has counted down to 0. So anyone that's on a lap now, the lap will count. Anyone starting a lap now, it will not. Paul di Resta moves himself up to P6. So René Rast, I don't think this is going to be an improvement for René Rast. Sure enough, it isn't. So René Rast is P3. Here comes Timo Glock. Don't think this... Well, I was going to say I don't think this will be earth-shattering, but actually it's P3 for Timo Glock with that lap. So we await Lucas out across the timing line. And here we can see Lucas Auer then, who has bailed on the lap and is into the pit lane, and that's the reason why. So Robin Freins goes from P17 to P9, and he is the last improver. So the order is Auer, Paffett, Glock, Rast, Farfus, Muller, Eng, di Resta, Freins, and Edo Mortara, the first 5 rows of the grid for the race this afternoon then. So Lucas Auer then, the young Austrian star, jumps out of the car, having delivered a 1:32.635. He's congratulated straight away by Gary Paffett, who, with a 1:32.737, is second fastest. And then it is the BMW of Timo Glock and the Audi of René Rast. And here then is Lucas Auer, absolutely giving it everything he can, using tarmac, curbs, AstroTurf, getting the car airborne. This wasn't the quickest lap from Lucas Auer. It was perhaps the most spectacular, but the quickest lap from Lucas Auer gave us that 1:32.635. And they're being congratulated by Gary Paffett. So Mercedes P1 and P2, BMW P3, Audi P4. There is Gary Paffett then, in conversation with Luki Auer. Laughter between the two of them. Timo Glock car is in Parc Ferme, I can see from our commentary studio position here. And now Timo Glock is about to jump out of the car. He was last into the Parc Ferme, which is why photographs have been taken by... Well, there is Timo. Come on, Timo, better late than never. Brilliant job he did, though, in qualifying to put the car P3 with a 1:32.751. And from the sector time, Sector 1 and Sector 2, really didn't think it was going to be an outstanding lap from Timo, but he put it all together in the final sector. Good on him. So Toto Wolff to the left-hand side of your picture, Uli Fritz to the right-hand side of your picture. And here, confirmation of qualifying for race 19, then Lucas Auer in pole position. Then it's Gary Paffett and Timo Glock. Ahead of René Rast, P4. Augusto Farfus, Nico Muller, Philipp Eng, Paul di Resta, a lowly P8, relatively. Then it's Robin Freins, Edo Mortara. Ahead of Joel Eriksson, Bruno Spengler, Danny Juncker-Dea, Pascal Wehrlein, Mike Rockefeller, Loic Duval, and Jamie Green. Of course, the car we didn't see in qualifying, that of the two-time DTM champion Marco Wittmann, following the crash in FP3, which caused significant damage to the car, and the team unable to get the car out onto the track for qualifying. So Timo Glock then was just removing the helmet then. And then we'll probably get all 3 drivers together for a photograph, I would suggest. Timo late to join the photographer's party, it has to be said. Right, get yourselves in order, gentlemen. Well done. Nicole Schlottman there, making sure that the drivers are placed in the correct positions. Luki Auer quickest, Gary Paffett second fastest, and Timo Glock third fastest. Super slow-mos the top three then. First of all, a 1:32.751 for Timo Glock. Second fastest is Gary Paffett. But let's hear from the third fastest driver, Timo Glock, right now.
I'm here with Timo Glock, fantastic qualifying, third place. So from here, I mean, I guess you can give everything and have a really fantastic race, and I guess that is the aim.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're going 5 places back because of I got like 3 warnings, so I've got a 5-place grid penalty, but still, I think we got a good race car, and we should be in the mix. If I survive lap 1, we should be there. So really looking forward to the race and then see what we can do tomorrow when we have no penalties after qualifying.
All right, thank you so much. Timo, he seems to be taking the fees, the penalties quite all right.
Yeah,
Let's see.
I think you're right. So Timo then under the totting up procedure gets a 5-place grid drop for his actual race position. So despite qualifying P3, he'll actually be starting further down the order. But that under the totting up procedure means that he's been warned one too many times, and Timo Glock, in fairness, taking that grid drop with a smile on his face. As he says, he's got a quick car. And of course, he's going to be right in the mix as well. But what can this man do? Gary Paffett then, certainly quicker than Paul di Resta in qualifying. And there is Paul di Resta, and you can almost see the look of disappointment in terms of the pace that he was able to deliver in qualifying. It wasn't quite enough to put him as far up the order as he would like to be. Paul di Resta qualified P8. Of course, he will be advantaged by virtue of the fact that Timo Glock takes a grid drop, so Paul di Resta will be starting P7. But even so, the two that are chasing in the championship, Gary Paffett and René Rast, as you can see, the driver standings, will be starting further ahead than Paul di Resta in the race, which is getting underway in just a couple of hours' time here at sun-kissed Hockenheim. So couldn't be tighter in the Drivers' Championship, and don't lose sight of the fact that René Rast mathematically has a very good chance of being able to seal the championship as well. Of course, there is Danny Juncker making his way down the pit lane. Mercedes-Benz, of course, will want to go out on a high. Here comes the grid for what a race that we have in prospect this afternoon. Lucas Auer will be going from P1, Gary Paffett from P2 on the grid. Then it's René Rast. P3, Augusto Farfus going from P4. Nico Muller and Paul di Resta then, P5 and P6. Then from P7 it is Robin Freins, and Timo Glock having that grid drop finds himself at P8 on the grid. Edo Mortara P9 and Joel Eriksson is P10. And P11 Bruno Spengler, P12 is Philip Eng. To the 7th row of the grid we find Daniel Juncker and Pascal Wehrlein. And then it is Mike Rockenfeller, of course, was in the mix here at the start of the season, and Loic Duval going from P16 on the grid. And Jamie Green, P17, Marco Wittmann following the damage in FP3, didn't make it out in qualifying, therefore he will be going from the very back of the grid. So there we have it then.
And now I'm here with Gary Paffett. I mean, at this point, it's the big showdown here this weekend. At this point, we're all looking on you and Paul and a little bit on René. So I guess you're really excited that you're in P2, and I think Paul is in P7, so quite far away. But also René is now directly behind you, but that's not going to trouble you at all, right? Because of the penalty of Timo.
Yeah, as long as René's close to us, it's fine. You know, he has to beat us by a lot of points in both races. So as long as René's close, it's no problem, really. And yeah, being a few places in front of Paul is good. I mean, quite unfortunately, Timo has a penalty, so maybe Paul gains a place back. But yeah, I'm actually disappointed not to be on pole because the car was that good. I mean, the car's been great all day. I'm really happy, really comfortable in the car, so I'm looking forward to the race.
I was just going to say, if the car's so good, you can show us what you can do in the race. Best of luck, Gary, and yeah, fantastic sunshine here, and we're all really excited for the race in just a bit, so you don't want to miss it. And now here are the highlights of the qualifying. Enjoy, and see you in a bit.